VTV News, Vietnam and India need to be positive factors for peace and development. And Vietnam to be among top 6 economies in Southeast Asia. In war news, HEZBOLLAH chief warned Israel crossed red lines.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Hello, it's 3 p.m. local time in Hanoi, and you're watching VTV News. During his state visit to India, Prime Minister Phie delivered an important policy speech at the Indian Councils of World Affairs. Many Indian diplomats, researchers, and scholars attended the event.
Speaking at the Indian Council of World Affairs, Prime Minister Phie first expressed his sincere thanks for the sentiments and deep condolences that the leaders and people of India sent to the party, state, and people of Vietnam on the passing of Party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng. The Prime Minister's speech focused on 3 main points. First, regarding the world situation, the Prime Minister noted that 6 major conflicts are emerging. He emphasized that all countries and multilateral institutions must persevere in dialogue and cooperation with a spirit of solidarity, unity in diversity, and a commitment to multilateralism to find effective solutions that are national, comprehensive, and global. Second, the Prime Minister discussed Vietnam's guidelines, policies, fundamental factors, viewpoints, development orientations, and achievements after nearly 40 years of renovation. He emphasized that Vietnam is focusing on 3 strategic breakthroughs: institutions, infrastructure, and human resources. Third, regarding the vision of the Vietnam-India Comprehensive Strategic Partnership, the Prime Minister emphasized 5 priority issues. These include consolidating and enhancing a strategic trust, negotiating a new economic trade cooperation agreement, and promoting cooperation in new technology, core technology, innovation, and high-quality human resource training.
Vietnam is expected to be among the top 6 economies in Southeast Asia over the next 10 years, according to a forecast released by the Development Bank of Singapore, consultancy Bain & Company, and the Ashana Council. The other economies are the Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, and Singapore. These 6 economies will benefit from the region's consumer market of more than 600 million people and strong links with major trading economies. However, rising protectionism in developed markets and widespread deindustrialization could negatively impact the economy. Vietnam is one of the top 10 emerging logistic markets, ranked 4th for international logistic opportunities. It is considered to have leading development potential in Southeast Asia. According to the Ministry of Industry and Trade, logistics service enterprises are increasing in both quantity and quality. The logistic industry plays an important role in helping the Vietnamese economy overcome global fluctuations and contributes to the continuous growth of Vietnam's total import-export turnover. In the past 7 months alone, export turnover has reached more than $440 billion. Bà Rịa Vũng Tàu ranks among the top 3 localities in the country for container throughput. Since the start of the year, its seaports have consistently received large tonnage ships to Europe. This trend reflects a rebound in consumer demand from importing countries and contributes to the growth of seaport enterprises.
MSC Tokyo, an 8,000 TEU vessel on the Britannia service, has docked at SSIT port in Phú Mỹ town to load cargo. MSC, the world's largest container shipping line, is a top global player in transportation and logistics.
Given the shortage of space and limited service options for importers and exporters, this is crucial for offering them better opportunities to export goods to Europe.
Other ports in Cái Mép, Thị Vải handle ships of 5,000 and 6,000 TEUs, boosting up berth productivity.
Cái Mép will continue to accommodate large ships that Ho Chi Minh City cannot, focusing on intra-Asia, Middle East, and South Asia routes.
In the first half of 2024, Bà Rịa Vũng Tau's port handled 44.3 million tons of goods, up 29.9% from the same period last year. Container cargo rose by 40%. As consumer demand from importing countries recovers and service prices remain stable, seaport enterprises are likely to see a revenue growth and increased cargo volumes.
In July, the Vietnam Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index (PMI) remained high at 54.7 points, the same as the previous month. This data was released by S&P Global. It showed that the domestic manufacturing industry continues to improve. Significant improvements were recorded in consumer goods, intermediate goods, and capital goods. To keep up with the market demand, companies boosted productions and used more inventory for new orders, causing inventories to decrease sharply. As a result, manufacturers will need to increase their workforce. The European Union-Vietnam Free Trade Agreement (EVFTA) has been implemented for 4 years. This is the first new generation free trade agreement that the European Union has signed with a developing country in the Asia-Pacific region. The agreement is not only a passport for Vietnamese goods to enter high-quality markets, but also create opportunities to affirm the brand of Vietnamese products in the global market.
After 4 years, the export turnover to the EU market of this food export enterprise is estimated at 50 million USDs, doubled compared to the time before EVFTA took effect.
The EVFTA helps to win importers' trust and creates very fast penetration into the EU market.
Many sectors in Vietnam have enhanced the utilization of certificates of origin, helping to improve the competitiveness of Vietnamese goods in the European market. According to the Ministry of Industry and Trade, after 4 years, Vietnam's export turnover to the EU has increased by nearly 1.5 times.
Thanks to the EVFTA, Vietnam has become the EU's 17th largest trading partner and the EU's largest trading partner in ASEAN.
Establishing free trade with developed partners such as the EU helps Vietnam build policies suitable to attract foreign investment. In addition, EU goods imported into Vietnam increased by more than 40%, especially machinery and equipment to meet the demand for investment, production, and high-quality manufacturing.
We are also investing in Vietnam to re-export, whether back to Europe or to other developed markets. So beyond the purely mechanical effect on trade.
Through the increase of trade flows, the increase of investment, this has made Vietnam a key part of our supply chains in Europe. I've recently discussed with our companies established in China.
In the context of new standards on greening, environment, and social responsibility becoming increasingly demanding, Vietnamese goods must be produced and exported in a systematic manner, complying with EU regulations, especially on product quality and safety.
Vietnam's seafood export has shown strong growth, reaching nearly 5.3 billion US dollar by the end of July, a 7% increase from the previous year. Since the third quarter, factories have secured numerous new orders, leading to increased activity in purchasing, processing, and exporting seafood.
Bạc Liêu, a shrimp hub, has reached over 500 million US dollars in export turnover. To hit the 1.1 billion US dollars target, its 40 seafood factories are ramping up processing and exports.
We are expanding the export of fresh, disease-free whole shrimp to South Korea, Singapore, and China, and will also include Australia. The province is fostering close cooperation between shrimp farmers and factories to ensure a stable supply of raw materials. Currently, 50% of the province's raw materials are sold to other regions.
Investing in deep processing boosts export value for the seafood industry.
We've enhanced the added value of our products to better compete with exporters like India, Bangladesh, and Ecuador, who specialize in raw goods.
Seafood businesses anticipate a sharp increase in consumption at year's end due to numerous events and festivals. By ensuring quality, meeting demand, and tapping into a market potential, seafood exports could reach $10 billion this year.
And before moving on to some other news, let's take a look at foreign exchange rate for today, August 2nd. Coming up next on VTV News, 60 years of the Navy first battle victory. And Japanese localities introduce policies to attract Vietnamese workers. Exactly 60 years ago, the sea battles of August 2nd and 5th, 1964 went down in history as the heroic battles of the Vietnamese People Navy. On August 2nd, 1964, the U.S. sent the destroyer Mad Dogs deep into the waters between Han Me and Lạch Trường, Thanh Hóa Province, creating the so-called Gulf of Tonkin incident to falsely accuse the North Vietnamese Navy of attacking. The U.S. then launched a retaliatory attack called Pierce Arrow, using aircraft and bombers from Giang Port, Quảng Bình to Bãi Cháy, Quảng Ninh to start the first destructive war against North Vietnam. This was done to prevent the North from supporting the battlefield in the South. In that unequal battle, the Navy responded to the enemy provocation with intelligence, bravery, and courage. This led to the first victory for the Navy and peoples of the North, a strategically significant win that thwarted the U.S. escalations of the war. The lesson from this first victory remains valuable and continues to be applied to the task of keeping the islands peaceful and maintaining the independence, sovereignty, unity, and territorial integrity of the fatherland. A summit focusing on women leadership in cooperative kicked off in Hanoi, highlighting the role of women in driving economic growth. The annual Asia-Pacific Women CEOs in Cooperative Summit, held as part of the International Cooperative Alliance Asia-Pacific Regional Board meeting, focuses on the theme Empowering Leadership, Navigating the Future of Cooperative with Women at the Helm. More to follow.
Female cooperative directors joined the forum for the first time, impressing Asian female leaders with the quality and design of women-led products. Vietnam's success in promoting women's roles in cooperatives for OCOP products and handicrafts has become a highlight.
I approached representatives from Sri Lanka, and they are also interested in Vietnamese black tea. I feel very confident and proud of Vietnamese agricultural products.
We use a new technology called freeze-drying technology, which helps the product fully retain its nutrients and helps farmers preserve agricultural products better.
According to the Vietnam Cooperative Alliance, at least 10% of management roles in 20,000 agricultural cooperatives are held by women, and 85% of female workers in the sector have stable employment.
Only about 8% of the population participate in cooperatives, while in many countries, the proportion is 3 times higher. By participating in cooperatives, women will gain confidence and demonstrate their abilities. They should also pursue further education to enhance their qualifications.
Women leaders in the cooperative sector discuss personal development, effective communication, and negotiation skills. They share experiences and create connections across countries and industries. This helps identify challenges and encourages women's participation in cooperatives.
Japan's new immigration law, which was passed by the Japanese parliament in June, will establish a new foreign worker training system to replace the current program. The new system is expected to take effect in 2027, but right now, Japanese localities have come up with many policies to attract Vietnamese workers.
A seminar on promoting support for Vietnamese workers in Japan to integrate into local communities took place in Tokyo, bringing together managers, policymakers from Japanese localities, and representatives from Vietnam. Yamanashi Prefecture introduced the first health insurance system for relatives in Vietnam of Vietnamese workers working in the prefecture.
We are establishing a new insurance system that will benefit Vietnamese workers in Yamanashi Prefecture, including insurance for their family members in Vietnam. Many Vietnamese workers are worried about their families back home. This is to attract more Vietnamese workers to our prefecture.
Other prefectures with a lot of Vietnamese workers, such as Aichi and Kanagawa, have introduced comprehensive support policies for Vietnamese workers, such as establishing support centers, administrative departments of foreigners, opening free language classes, life skills, and introducing childcare, so that foreign workers can work long-term with peace of mind.
We are promoting broad discussions in the prefecture, especially for small and medium-sized companies, where Vietnamese workers are in great need, to create the easiest environment for them.
We are implementing various initiatives to attract Vietnamese workers, such as organizing training sessions, free language courses, and interactive activities with businesses, so that workers can find the jobs they want.
Japan's new regulations on the use of immigrant workers are set to aim at training skills and better protecting the rights of foreign workers, overcoming the situation of illegal and disguised labor. Japan is working to perfect the mechanisms so that foreigners can work here for life.
On the evening of August 1st, the border guard station of Mong Cái International Border Gate in Quảng Ninh Province coordinated with the family and the Dong Hưng Immigration Border Control Station of China to rescue a 23-year-old woman who was tricked into crossing the border with promises of easy work and a high salary. The victim resided in Uông Bí City. Through the initial investigation, it was found that the victim met a woman through social networks. Upon arriving in Dong Hưng, China, the scammer approached her and asked her to delete all messages and switch to a Chinese SIM card. Realizing the suspicious sign, the victim secretly texted Vietnam for help. The Vietnam-Germany Friendship Hospital successfully completed its 10th pediatric heart transplant, saving a 7-year-old girl with end-stage heart failure due to dilated cardiomyopathy diagnosed 3 years ago. The patient's condition worsened despite conservative treatments, making a heart transplant necessary. After receiving a suitable heart donation, despite significant sign differences, the child's recovery has been promising, with noticeable improvement in just 3 weeks post-surgery. With over 50 ethnic groups, Vietnam boasts a rich tapestry of unique and diverse cultures. In the Central Highlands, Ede, Manong, and Jarai women are actively working with their communities to preserve and promote their traditional cultural heritage.
Hia from Cloud Village in Dre Sap Commune, Krông Anna District, Dak Lak Province, has been weaving since she was 10. Aiming to preserve this traditional craft, she mobilized 18 women in 2022 to establish an 8-day brocade weaving cooperative.
I preserved this weaving tradition to create jobs for women and help future generations in my village thrive.
Driven by their love for ethnic culture, Central Highlands villagers continue to preserve traditional crafts, Products like brocade, wine, weaving, and pottery from these craft villages have helped form community tourism villages.
I visited Dak Lak several times for work but never had the chance to explore. This time, I found it fascinating and plan to return.
The province will continue to develop community tourism models in various ethnic villages, aiming to create diverse cultural tourism products that highlight Dak Lak's unique heritage.
Ethnic women in Central Highlands actively preserve traditional cultural values, successfully recreating and passing on unique cultural features to future generations. They play a key role in promoting their people's unique cultural heritage in modern society.
Coming up next in our World News, Hezbollah chief warns Israel crossed red lines. Russia and U.S. reach prisoner exchange agreement. Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah vowed on Thursday to respond to Israel's killing of the group's top military commander, saying Israel had crossed red lines. An Israeli strike on Hezbollah stronghold in the southern suburb of Beirut on Tuesday, July 30th, killed top commander Fuad Skord, an Iranian military advisor, and 5 civilians. In a televised statement, Hezbollah leaders said the conflict had entered a new phase unlike the previous one, describing it as an open battle on all fronts. Hezbollah retaliated by firing dozens of missiles into northern Israel. This marked Hezbollah's first attack on Israeli territory following the airstrike that killed a senior leader. On Thursday, Houthi forces announced a military response after the assassinations of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh. In response to the threat, Israel stated that it was prepared for all scenarios and ready to strongly respond to any attack on the country. On Thursday, U.S. President Joe Biden announced a significant prisoner exchange agreement between the U.S. and Russia. This is one of the largest exchanges between the two countries since the end of the Cold War. 3 American citizens and 1 permanent resident detained by Russia have been released, including reporter Evan Gershkovich, who was arrested last March and charged with espionage, facing a 16-year prison sentence. In return, Russia received Vadim Graskov, a colonel of the Russian Secret Service. President Joe Biden described this as an important step forward in diplomatic relations between the U.S. and Russia, paving the way for future negotiations.
Authorizing penalties like sanctions.
The Russian Defense Ministry has announced the commencement of the 3rd stage of military drills focused on the operational deployment of non-strategic nuclear weapons. During the current phase of drills, Russian servicemen will be tasked with practicing operational procedures related to the Iskander-M missile systems. This includes handling special training ammunition, preparing launch vehicles covertly, and positioning themselves for potential electronic launches, as outlined by the Defense Ministries. Furthermore, personnel from the Aerospace Forces Aviation Unit will participate in exercises involving the equipping of aviation weapons with specialized combat units and conducting flights to designated patrols area. The Defense Ministries emphasize that these exercises are designed to maintain the readiness of Russian military personnel and equipment for the potential use of non-strategic nuclear weapons in various combat scenarios. Rolling up and down a field, a farming robot dubbed Claude used a patent concentrated light technologies to eliminate weed without damaging the surrounding crops or soil. This approach is not only effective but also sustainable.
The autonomous robot is designed for 2 main tasks: weeding and crop monitoring. Combines artificial intelligence and robotics, and its makers say it can reach tough spots where farmers or other equipment cannot.
Spend the minimum amount of energy per hectare has to be the aim. And of course, with ever depleting labour resources, nobody really wants to go through a field weeding on a really wet, windy, cold day. So why not give it to a robot?
CLAWS stands for Concentrated Light Autonomous Weeding and Scouting. The robot was designed by Earth Rover. It uses patented concentrated light technology to eliminate weeds without damaging surrounding crops or soil.
So the best way of describing it is a schoolboy with a magnifying glass. So it concentrates the light onto a small focal point on the meristem, the growing point of the weed, and delivers a small pulse of energy, which is enough to kill the weed. So it takes an individual photograph and assesses the crop beneath it, identifies the crop, protects that, and then identifies the weeds around it and says, "They're enemy, I'm targeting those." And that all happens in a split second and starts shooting at the weeds.
According to Earth Rover, this method is more sustainable as it reduces greenhouse gas emissions released during soil disturbance. To monitor crop health, CLAWS is equipped with 8 built-in cameras. It collects real-time data using AI computer vision, which is then sent to Earth Rover's farm control and intelligence system. This information allows farmers to make timely decisions about the health and growth of their crops. CLAWS runs on battery and solar power and operates autonomously in various terrains and weather conditions.
And now, as usual, let's continue with the weather forecast. And that's all the news for today. To rewatch our program, you can log on to VTVgo.vn or download a mobile application, VTVgo. Thanks for watching and goodbye for now.